Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The recording that you've been waiting for of Dr. Deborah Moore on the topic of the importance of creativity in entrepreneurship. A very interesting topic. So, Deborah is in the UK right now, and I will leave it over to her to do an introduction. But firstly, I want to say thank you so much for doing this for our community and sharing your wonderful time with us today. Really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So over to you, Deborah.
Thank you so much, Tulsi. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this presentation. It's a brand new one for me, and I've really enjoyed creating it for your community. And let's go. The importance of creativity for entrepreneurs. I use Canva, and I do like to decorate my presentations. I do like them to look pretty because I'm an artist as well as a scientist. And I came across this image. I'm sure most of us are not running little stands with our artwork, but I just felt like this image had such a beautiful creative quality about it. And he's obviously an entrepreneur selling his wares in the most creative way that he can find. And I really love this image. And it, in a way, it sort of carries the energy of what it is that I feel that entrepreneurs want to carry in their own work, that sense of flair, individuality, and using whatever resources that you have available to you. As you can see by this young gentleman, we don't have to have loads of money or even a property in order to run our business.
Yeah.
So first of all, you need to think about what it is that you want. And we all want something different. And it's really important to know what it is that you want. You don't want to have a long list, but you want to have your top priorities of what it is that you particularly want. What is it you want in your life? What is it you want from your business? What is it you want from your social, your health? You have to know all these things. And I recommend that you make a short list of what it is that you want. And there's 4 steps I'm going to take you through in this process. The first one is you need to know yourself. I like that expression, know thyself. And the second step is that you want to bring creativity into your work, your rest, and your play. You can't just isolate work from whatever else, from the rest of your life. The thing about creativity for entrepreneurs is that we want to bring creativity into every aspect of our life. You need to be able to go and have time on your own. I've called this retreat. You need to be able to take space on your own, and you want to be able to shine. So shine definitely comes at the end when you've worked through the rest of these 3 steps. And then we want to look at how are you going to get there? And I've identified 6 skills that you need in order to really flourish with your creativity in your entrepreneurial business. Positivity, freedom, wonder, transcend, light, and love. And we're going to go through each one of these separately. So the first thing is step 1. You have to know yourself, know thyself. And you've probably seen this phrase, we see it a lot on social media, just be yourself because everyone else is taken. The thing about entrepreneurship is you have to be yourself. People will spot somebody who's pretending or trying to be somebody else or trying to mimic someone else. People will spot that immediately, and they'll know that you're not really being authentic to who you are. It's so important to be authentically you. And in a way, that's what this whole presentation is about, how you can be authentically you. And the first skill is positivity. Because as an entrepreneur, as a creative entrepreneur, you're not going to attract anyone to you if you're negative. And so as entrepreneurs, we really have to watch that inner speak, that inner voice. And if it's not being positive, we have to stop it. We have to say, no, I'm going to be positive. I'm not going down a negative route. Because if you know anything about the law of attraction, you know, where one energy attracts another energy, then if you want your business to be positive, then you have to hold a positive energy in order to attract positivity to you. And you've got to do what you love. And you have to really love it. Because as an entrepreneur, there's not going to be anybody coaxing you along, saying, come on, you got to go to work now. It's going to be up to you. And if you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to do it. So you have to really identify what is it that you love that nobody else can stop you from doing. And this, for some of us, we've forgotten what we love. You know, some of us are so conditioned to be told what to do that we've actually forgotten what it is that we really love to do. So it might take you a little bit of time to really identify what it is that you love. And it may be that that is what you're wanting to offer to the world, what it is you love, but you've got to look in more detail as well at what it is you love, other aspects of your life, and also the way that you work. We'll come to that. So step 2, work, rest, and play. So one of the key things about being an entrepreneur is learning how to manage your time. And I am a great believer in not using clock time. However, I know for some people that's quite challenging, and actually they like to have time blocking, like, you know, specific times in their diary when they're going to do certain things. So what I suggest is you follow the 40-60 rule, where 40% of your time is blocked. So you've got appointments, and you say, right, during that time, I am going to do this, this, and this. But in the remaining 60% of your time, you leave it open. You might have a list of what it is that needs to be done, but in that 60%, you take a moment and you ask yourself, what's the best way I can use this time that I have now? And it might be something on your list. You go, oh, yes, now is just the right time to do that item on my list. Or you might say, do you know what? I really need to go for a walk now. I really need some downtime now. And you go and have your walk or wherever, and then you come back and you ask that question again. What's the right thing for me to do now? And every time you accomplish a little task, you ask, what's the right thing for me to do now? And you'll be surprised how quickly you get through that to-do list. So make sure that you don't block all your time off. Give yourself significant chunks where you are free to do whatever it is that you feel motivated to do in that moment from your to-do list, or it may be something else that you need to do to take care of yourself. And as you start to do this, you'll start to experience more freedom within your time. And really, as an entrepreneur, that's why we become entrepreneurs, because we're looking for freedom. And freedom operates at every level in our life. And you want to be looking at everything where you get that feeling of, oh, I'm being made to do this, or do I really want to do this? Or do I really believe in this? You want to be asking yourself all the time, what is it I really believe in? What gives me an experience of being free? Because in my experience, freedom is one of the top values of all entrepreneurs, and particularly of all creatives. And the other thing you want to be doing, and this so ties up with freedom and the 40-60 rule, you have to learn to play. Now, if you don't play anymore, then what I highly suggest is you just, from a discreet distance, observe small children playing, and the way that they can just take some mud or some sticks and they're downloading stories and they're interpreting them in their mud or their sticks, and they're creating whole, adventures. And as they're doing that, they are learning. And as a creative, this is what we have to do. We have to be able to access ideas from our imagination in the way that children do, and then interpret those into material reality. It's exactly the same process as what you see children doing when they're playing with mud or sticks or bricks or whatever it is, crayons and paper. They are drawing down from their imagination and interpreting it into physical reality. And the only way we can do that is to give ourselves the space. And that's why I use the 40-60 rule, because you must have that 60% of your time as open space where you're not clock watching. Children don't clock watch. They do not clock watch. And clock watching is a disaster for creativity, because you're always like, oh, how much time have I got? How much? And it's like you can't allow yourself the freedom to go into your imaginal realm. So learn how to play, bring down that imagination into physical reality. Step 3, you need to be able to withdraw, need to be able to find space and time on your own. And I'm going to suggest several ways that you can do this, and I highly recommend you use quite a few of them. So the first one is to meditate. And this could just be 20 minutes in the morning where you sit quietly and just focus on your breath going in and out of your nose. The Dalai Lama can't do it for more than 2 breaths, so don't worry, nobody can stay focused for more than a few seconds at best. The whole thing about meditation is that as soon as you know your mind has wandered off, is that you bring it back to focusing on your breath or whatever else other method of meditation you choose. Every time it wanders off, you bring it back as soon as you realize it has wandered off. The whole thing about meditation is learning to control our mind, to stay focused on what it is that we want it to be focused on. And this is so important as an entrepreneur and as a creative, because otherwise our mind is just going to go off somewhere else. And before you know it, you've been on your Facebook for 2 hours, or, you've gone off and done something else because you've not been able to focus. And secondly, we need to learn to listen. And one way I absolutely love to practice listening is just to go into nature, somewhere quiet, where you can hear water or you can hear the wind in the leaves. I mean, maybe you don't have access to woodland, you have access to a different type of nature, but it wants to be somewhere where you're not being overpowered with like combustion engine noise, roads or, underneath a flight path or something. You want to be somewhere where you can hear nature. You can hear the birds, or you can hear the trees, you can hear the wind, water. And again, your mind will wander off, but you keep bringing it back so that you're just listening to nature. Because when we move into that imaginal realm, we need to be able to hear the inspiration and the ideas that we are being given. Because the whole thing about an entrepreneur is you cannot keep copying other people. You cannot keep doing the same old thing. You constantly need new ideas. And so you have to train yourself to listen for them. And the next skill that comes is wonder. You know, when you go out and you go, wow, look at that. That's amazing. And the best ways I find of getting into the skill of wonder is to look at something beautiful, to appreciate beauty. You know, when you look at like this lily and you just go, wow, that is so beautiful. Or, you know, when you see something magical, I love bubbles, you know, like they're so transient and they just gleam and the colors are so amazing. And how can they hold their shape? You know, it feels quite magical to me. And this, yeah, it for me, they are wonderful. And I can just ad admire them and just, they just make me smile. To find what it is that for you, that you go, oh, that is truly beautiful, truly wonderful. Because that's the quality that we want to be bringing through in our work. So that people go, wow, that's amazing. I love that. In the way that I felt about the young man with his stall at the beginning. I just thought, that's beautiful. I love that. And I was like, where did it come from? You know, those ideas. So the next skill is transcend, because we need to be able to transcend our ordinary way of thinking. You know, creativity is all about transcending into that imaginal realm. And I'll come up with a couple of things to help you with that. So for me, if I look up at the sky, particularly if I look at the moon or I look at the stars, and I just imagine, you know, this infinite space and, you know, what might lie beyond there, and, you know, how far does it go? You know, it's like billions of light years. Recently, I got to look through a telescope at the galaxy of Andromeda, 2,500 million years, light years away. What I was seeing in that telescope was the light from that took 2,500 million years to get to Earth. You know, it's like when we look up and we transcend this ordinary, everyday material reality that we live in, and we see something beyond. And look far. Find somewhere that you can see horizon. There's something about stretching our vision beyond just, you know, what's in front of our face or what's across the road. If you can look out over water, you know, where there's you can't see anything beyond, you can just see the horizon. I mean, you know, just looking at an image like this, because there's that sense of relaxing your vision, and it all contributes to the ability to be creative and to be able to access new ideas. So for me, the next skill is about light. And in a way, that's already what you're experiencing when you look up to the heavens, or when you look to the horizon. But more specifically, look into things like fire or a flame. There's something, you know, creativity is so much a visual thing. I mean, obviously, some of you may be more about music or sensory type creativity, or even to do with the taste or your smell if you're into cooking. But so much about creativity is to do with our visual perception. You know, unless you're visually impaired, for most people, their visual perception is the first thing that they will take note of, their visual sense. And that's all about light. But if we don't train ourselves to absorb light, and particularly a certain quality of light, that very luminous type of light that you get in fire or in flames, or in the sky, you know, that light, that sunlight. I mean, obviously don't look directly at the sun unless it's right on the horizon, the sun's just about to set, and then you can look at that light. There's a difference in the light from the sky, that blue of the sky, or the sunlight filtering through trees or through leaves. There's a different quality of that light to, you know, looking at most ordinary everyday things. They don't have that that vibrancy, that high frequency that the sky has, that sunlight has, or like a fire or a candle.
Hi, Deborah. Can I pause you there for a second?
Yeah.
Can you go back to that fire, that beautiful image of the fire? Can you see what I'm seeing? I see on the top like a queen or princess dancing.
Beautiful. And thank you for bringing that to my attention, Tulsi, because, you know, that's what people see when they look in fire, don't they? They see images. And
Yeah.
it's the same when we look at clouds. We can see images, and it's such a fabulous way to play, is
Yeah,
to
and
allow our imagination to go and to see pictures.
yeah, and below her, it seems like there's a lady sitting down and she has a hat on.
Yeah.
So, so I was just like, wow, this is like, I can stay all day at this image. But anyway, I'll let you go on.
No, thank you for bringing my attention back to it, because you're so right. You know, to look at fire or to look at clouds and just play and like, oh, what can I see? What can I see? It helps to stimulate that creative part of our brain, all these things. So thank you. I really appreciate you stopping me there.
That's so beautiful. I was like, wow, I could feel that when that image came, I just could feel I was like, yeah, this is creative.
Awesome. Awesome.
Do go on.
Yeah. So the last step is about shining. Shine. So the first thing is celebrate every little win, everything. You know, if you've had an amazing walk, go, that was an amazing walk. I really enjoyed that. Or you had an amazing meditation. Oh, that was a good one. I really felt settled after that one. Or, you know, just celebrate everything. Life is the celebrating. Life is we're meant to be happy. And, you know, there's so much difficulty in the world. There's so many things are hard and difficult. And yet there is so much to celebrate. So celebrate every day, several times a day. You know, keep your energy up. It's impossible to be creative if your energy is low. In a way, that's what this whole presentation is about, is how can you raise your energy? Because we cannot move into that creative zone if our energy is low. We have to be up. And have fun. You know, if you see a puddle, go and jump in it like a child would. You know, laugh, play. And in this comes the skill of love. Because if we're not loving, one, what we're doing, Two, if we're not loving ourselves, and if we're not loving the world at large, then we're not going to get very far in our entrepreneurial journey. And I find the best way to raise your energy and to be in that feeling of love is to smile. So just before we all went into lockdown, I tested myself. I decided to give myself a challenge to smile from when I woke up in the morning until when I went to bed at night. Doesn't matter if I was on my own, nothing. I had to smile all the time for 1 month. It changed my life. Because what happens is when we lift up the corners of our mouth, even if we don't feel like smiling, our brain goes, oh, she's happy, she's smiling, release happy hormones. And our body gets flooded with oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin and endorphins, and it makes us feel good. And we're only going to be creative when we feel good. If we're feeling stressed and worried and anxious, then our body is flooding us with adrenaline and cortisol. And we go into survival mode, and our lower brain, our amygdala, the monkey brain kicks in. And all it is concerned with is making sure that we are safe. It is not interested in creativity. It is not going to let us go into our imagination, except for imagining worst case scenarios. So, but as soon as we smile, our brain goes, oh, she's happy again, and gives us all those lovely, happy, warm feeling hormones. And then we go, okay, now I can go and have fun. Now I can go and play. Now I can move into that creative zone and allow those ideas to come through and to be happy. And connect. Now, if one of the things I notice is, like, I was in London last week. Most people in London are like this. They do not look at anybody. They look down. Nobody looks at each other. Nobody wants to make contact because everybody's very squashed. And it's the only way that people can keep their space. I'm a stranger in London. I don't work like that. I live in a more open place where I smile at everybody. Everybody I pass in the street, I smile at. And what I've noticed is that some people will smile back. And some people will even say hello. And some people will go, oh, you seem like a lovely person. And if you're like in a meeting or you're in a space with other people and you're smiling, it'll be you they want to come and talk to. It'll be you that they notice. And as an entrepreneur, we have to connect with people. We have to build a network because we have to be able to share ideas. We want to attract people to our business and we want to collaborate with people. I tell you something, as an entrepreneur, you're not going to get anywhere unless you're working in collaboration with other people, because it's through collaboration that we share our audiences. It's through smiling and looking happy that we're going to attract people to our business. People are not going to go to someone who they go, oh, they look like they're having a hard time. I don't think I'll go and bother them. But if we're like really happy and we look like we're having a good time and we're having fun, people are going to go, I'm going to go to that person. I think I could connect with that person. I think I could resonate with that person. And when we smile, that's when our light shines through. It's all that light we've been absorbing. You may have heard that really we are light beings in a material body. We are spiritual beings having a material existence. We emit light. So the more we can absorb pure light, then the higher our vibration is, the more light that we emit. And the more light we emit, the more people we attract. But not only that, the more people that we will attract who are also emitting light, who are also working at a higher vibration. I can't emphasize how important this is. And all the little tips I've given you will all help you to raise your vibration, to emit more light in order to attract the people who want to work with you, the people who want to be your friend, the people who can't resist being with you. So let's go through that again. So we've got 4 steps. First, you need to know yourself. You need to know what it is that you want and who you are. Okay. And you need to know what you love to do, what you're good at. You need to understand what gives you an experience of freedom. Then you need to understand how to organize yourself so that you have some time to work, some time to rest, and some time to play. So remember the 40-60 rule. I mean, to tell you the truth, I don't even use 40, but for some people that is really challenging not to have some time blocked. So I suggest the 40-60 rule. Have 40% of your time that you say, I'm going to do these things then, or have that when you have your appointments. And I never look at time, on my phone. I don't wear a watch. I don't have a clock. So yes, I use the phone for my time, but I use the numbers across the top. I just look at them as patterns. What's the pattern that's showing? And it's nearly always, one of these angelic number patterns that they talk about. If I have an appointment, I set my alarm with enough time to give me to prepare beforehand. And then I just put it aside. I just get lost in that space, that creative zone. And I just go, what's the best thing for me to do now? Oh, I know. I'm going to do that now. And then I just have great fun doing it. And it gets done. And I'm like, awesome. I'm going to celebrate that now. I'm going to celebrate that I got that done. And then it'll be, what shall I do now? Retreat. Go and have a walk. Go and listen to the trees. Watch the reflection of the light on the water. Find a horizon where I can stretch my eyes. Gaze up at the sky. Watch the sunset. These are really, really important things to do. They are as important as what you do in your time blocking, because this is when you're going to get your ideas, when you're in that retreat space. That's when you're going to get your ideas. So make sure you take a little pen and paper, or, just note it down in your phone when you get an idea, because I tell you, you'll have forgotten it later. And you don't want to be thinking about it while you're in that retreat space. You just want the idea. Then you can think about it later. And remember to shine, smile, be your beautiful self. Every single person looks beautiful when they shine, and they look attractive, and people will be drawn to you. So you've got your 6 skills. Positivity. Do not allow those negative thoughts, because you will surely attract more of that into your life. I don't know if you've ever heard of Abraham or Esther Hicks, and they say we have 17 seconds to turn that negative thought and bring it back into a positive thought. And that's the practice of the meditation, bringing yourself back and going, whoa, that was a negative thought, come back to positive. Freedom. Find out what that means to you, because that's the whole reason you're an entrepreneur, is to be free. Wonder. Experience wonder. Whatever it is that turns you on, experience it. Transcend, go beyond your ordinary everyday material reality. Go into nature and have a transcendent experience. Nature doesn't operate by the same rules as us. It is transcendent. Light. Make sure you're absorbing light. And I do not mean artificial light. It has to be something like firelight, candlelight, or the light of the sky, the light of the sun. It's a different quality of light. And we need it as much as plants do. We are light beings. We need light, particularly through our eyes. So don't wear sunglasses all the time. Allow yourself to absorb light and love. And it has to start with yourself. Remember that old saying, love your neighbor as yourself. If you do not love yourself, you cannot love your neighbor. So come to like yourself at least. Find things about yourself that you like. You can admire yourself for. And I got one more bonus tip. Get a hat and get a head. I haven't got my hat on now, but I am known for wearing hats. They help us to stand out from the crowd. And they're quite protective as well, whether that's just from the sun or whether, you know, you believe in your chakras, but it helps us to stand out. And as entrepreneurs, we must find a way of standing out. We have to stand ahead, above everybody else doing exactly the same thing. We have to find our uniqueness. And if it's not a hat, then you're going to have to find something else. Some way that demonstrates you as being different to everybody else. One of my coaches says, be more giraffe, you know, have a very long neck and stand above everybody else. We have to find our own uniqueness within a field of a lot of other people doing very similar things. But there is a place, there is a niche for every one of us. And if you smile and shine your light and wear a hat or something else, people will come to you. They will be, the right people will be drawn to you, and they will become lifelong friends. And you can't help but feel happy and creative when you're in that space. So this is me. I'm known as the fairy godmother amongst my tribe of followers. And that's my email. If any of you would like to reach out and ask any questions, or you want more information, or you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, or subscribe to my Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, I'm everywhere, just drop me a line on email. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I'm going to stop sharing now. And I believe that Tulsi has some questions for me.
Oh my God, so wonderful. I really enjoyed, your slide presentation, and the colors was so beautiful, the paint and, the fire. I just can't, and the way you colored the writing, because I'm a writer, so I like the color of the horizon with the words. It was beautiful. Yeah, so I mean, I have a lot to say. I mean, when I saw your profile picture, the hat stood out. I was like,
you know
colorful.
what? You know what? I've actually got two hats here. Look, I'll put one on.
There we go. Yeah, and very interesting about standing out. We live in a world, billions of people, and how do we stand out from each other, from our own unique purpose? So I must say that that resonated with me. I know that you are astrologer as well, right? I mean, it says in your bio, and I like the comparison you made with creativity and the astrology side. You know, so in your lifetime now, how many have you done entrepreneurial projects, and what stood out for you the most? Like, what could you say was memorable and something that you were like, I learned so much from this?
Okay, so I started life as a scientist. I did 7 years at university and realized fortunately, the project I was doing involved photography. So I was able to do something creative with my science. And I had a big album of photographs, my PhD. But otherwise, the science was terrible. um, and I realized that, this was, I always wanted to do art when I was a youngster, but because I was so clever, I got pushed into science. And so I basically ran away. I went traveling for 4 years and I got into doing batik and I started making clothes. Now, I'd always made clothes as a child. I'd always loved making clothes. And basically, I've been self-employed ever since. Ever since I was 25, I've been an entrepreneur in a way. And I've done a lot of different things. I love making clothes, absolutely adore it. I upcycle. I mean, this cardigan's handmade, this cardigan's handmade. In fact, I've got another hat here I made. Um,
I like.
and they're all made out of, waste fabrics and, old clothes and things like that. Um, and then I studied astrology, and I'm not a traditional astrologer. I follow, the way I was taught, but it's completely creative. It's completely intuitive. I've been a photographer. I've made cards. I've I've been an alternative therapist. I've made remedies. I've done so many different things, but they've all had that creative element. But I tell you, the best thing I ever did, the best thing I ever did, I went to art college, and I went nearly 20 years ago. So I was already over middle-aged, and I went for 4 years. And fortunately, I was able to go to my local college, so it didn't really cost me any much. And one day, not long after I'd started, my little boy was sick. He was 5, and I had to bring him in with me. And we were doing something very simple, really simple. I'd only just started at college, and I was struggling because I was a perfectionist. I was like, I was trying to make it perfect. It didn't look good, I wasn't happy with it. And I was watching my little boy, he's 5 years old, and I thought, wow, that actually looks amazing. I love what he's done. And then I thought, what is he doing that I'm not doing? I thought he's just playing. And it was such a wake up for me. And after that, I just played for 4 years, and I got a distinction. In the end, I specialized in design using waste materials. I was designing things and using printing and stuff. And yeah, that changed my life. That did.
Wow, yes. That's a beautiful, like you mentioned meditation, and you mentioned light, like absorbing the light. That's something that I never really considered until now. And someone was saying to me, connect with the moon and the stars. Not everything at night is dark, you know. So because I mean, amongst the dark there's light, and the stars, and yes, there's the two elements, yin and yang, and so yeah, I mean, like the 40-60 rule is something that I think I should apply, because I'm a writer, and I'm so okay. I don't want to sound like I'm brilliant, right? But I think I look at the clock because I think of the deadline, and and then there's the elements when I'm writing. It's like, no, I don't want to look at that deadline, because I want to write. I want to write something quality that encapsulates the the feeling and the empathetic spiritual side of what I'm writing. and choosing the right words. And it's like the time is clicking, and it's like, okay, boss is going to be asking for this.
So,
you know?
because the thing is that if we've been to school, we've learned to work according to a clock. Yeah, the bell goes at the end of each lesson, you know, lunchtime. We are so programmed to work by a clock. And do you know, we've actually only had clock time for 150 years. Prior to that, everywhere had different times. Nobody had clocks. You had a church clock, it struck the hour, that was it. And 150 years ago, because they had to make the railways connect, everybody suddenly went on to the same time,
Ah,
so that the railways would connect and the telegraph would connect and things like that. So this concept of linear time is very, very it's very new for our brains, but we've all been now conditioned and programmed to work on it. Einstein said that time is an illusion. It's a man-made construct. Have you ever had that experience where you've just been completely lost in what you're doing and you have no idea how much time has gone past? And sometimes 5 minutes can feel like 5 hours, and 5 hours can feel like 5 minutes, and you're just completely lost. You're just completely absorbed in whatever it is you're doing.
yeah.
Time is elastic, it stretches and it convolutes and it goes all over the place, but it only does that if we stop looking at it.
That's so true. And it's really funny when you mention time, and when I think about how people say, by this time I need to get here, by that time this should be done. And only like in the recent 5 years did I realize that that's not your time to decide. uh, for you to be prepared and ready for something that destiny wants to give to you, that's not you that decides that. That's you just putting in the work every day, meditating every day, believing in your dreams every day, trying to be creative at standing out, but doing what you love, all the things you've mentioned. And then one day will be that day where some destinies is going to happen when you don't expect it, not when you saying that this time it's going to happen. And the same thing with anything, like your connection with the children or family members, as a fallout, a relationship, anything that I finally got to understand in the last 5 years is dependent on you putting in the work and not expecting when the fruit is going to be bad of that, and
I I see it a little bit like that every moment is like a vortex, is like, every moment in the present is, each one is like a vortex and it's got a special energy. And when
excuse me.
when we are able to let go of that concept of time and just say, okay, what's the best thing for me to do now? Then it's like we've moved into a vortex and it says, okay, this is the best thing to do in this particular energetic vortex. That's how I sort of see it.
Oh, wow. And I like this pattern that you mentioned of the numbers, because I'm seeing the numbers as well, like the 13, 13, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. It's like, you
And it's so weird how, like, I see 12:21 a lot and I'm like, but that means I'm always looking at 20 past 12, but I feel like I see that all day.
know. That's amazing, the way the way you bringing across the time element. What else would I like to ask? I mean, uh like I liked that first picture. I was like, this guy is entrepreneur. I like his colors. A lot of green, abundance colors there, and he's so organized and neat and clean. It looks. I want to eat there. you know. So yeah, I was like, I just found that your slides were beautiful. the way you've brought out the most important thing. Love what you do is what stood out for me. It comes to you easier when you love what you do instead of fighting the time and fighting everything that is not aligned to you.
And
Question.
can I add one little thing? That
Yeah,
all of
please.
that was done on Canva,
Yeah,
and I don't pay for Canva. That was all free Canva.
I know Canva is lovely. It's so artistic, the free version, and wow. I mean, and I recently used the paid version too. I was like, whoa, this is awesome. It's like I like the styling and the music and
It's
everything.
something, that all of your viewers could
Yeah.
start into. It's very, it's quite simple to use. And the images, I think partly what I like about it is because we're using it online, then the light that shines through makes the images like go, whoa. If
Ah,
they were on paper, they wouldn't be as nice.
no,
It's because
digital.
we're looking at them digitally and therefore we're seeing the light coming through them and that makes them shine.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true. That old days are gone with the photographs and the instant film photographs coming through. Like, oh, the quality is not so great. Yeah. In terms of, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to put my shoes in the community, my feet in the shoes of the communities. Uh, you know, way of thinking. What would they ask? They're starting a business. And okay, yeah, if they were starting a business, and I mean, like they have this thought in their mind that's constantly repeating itself that I must do this, but they're not listening to that thought because they don't think that they could do it. What advice would you give to them?
I think the worst thing that people do, I mean, they say that the things that hold people back are procrastination, perfectionism, and imposter syndrome. I mean, there's more, but those are the three things that entrepreneurs really struggle with. So procrastination is like, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And I think that part of the thing is that people feel like that they have to block off a lot of time to do something. So what I say to people is you only do it for 5 minutes. So if you've got like, something you really don't want to do and you say to yourself, I'm only going to do it for 5 minutes and then I'll do 5 minutes tomorrow or whatever. 5 minutes feels like nothing. And most people will say, okay, I'll just do it for 5 minutes. And once you've got going, once you started, then you're on a roll. But you can give it up in 5 minutes. You've done your 5 minutes. You've done what you said you would do. Or you may find yourself doing 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. But the thing is, just do one little bit. Perfectionism, that is an absolute killer of dreams. Because the thing is, you will never be perfect in your eyes. That presentation I've just done, that's not perfect in my eyes. I know I could make that better, but it was good enough for now. Because I know that every time I do another presentation, it'll be better than the last one. I have a friend who is an entrepreneur and I love her dearly. And what she has created is beautiful, but it is still not on the market because she's a perfectionist. And we started at the same time. I've already got hundreds of customers. I've already done loads of presentations. I've already done a lot of work. I've already, starting my second, third course with people coming through. She hasn't even started yet because she is such a perfectionist. It's a killer, perfectionism. And you're going to get better. You'll always get better. So you're perfect as you are right now. And tomorrow you'll be a bit better. And the next day you'll be a bit better. And you just have to keep going. And the other one, imposter syndrome, that's very much related to this shine thing. Because we get into, oh, how can I do that? I'm not good enough, and oh, I can't possibly stand up and do that, something like that. Just keep smiling, and you'll find that people will just come. They'll just come. You just keep smiling. You do a little step, a little step, a little step, a little step. Thing to do is, and do not look further down the line. When you asked me to come and do a little presentation, I didn't look down the line at what I just started. One little step. Let's start with one slide, because I know that when I've got that one slide, it will give me the inspiration for the next one. And so then I do the next one. I'm like, wonder what follows on best from that. Oh, I know. That would follow on best from that. So then I'll do that. So I'm doing each little step at a time. You don't find children going, I'm going to make a painting and I know exactly what it's going to look like. They have no idea what it's going to look like. They get the red and they go like that. And then they go, oh, I'm going to use yellow now. And they go like that. And they go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I could do with a bit of black. Let's do that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if you have a vision of what it's going to look like at the end, you'll never, ever get there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have to,
you just put it in.
you have to let it grow organically.
You put it in perfect words. You don't know the final outcome until you just follow the intuition, really, and don't block yourself and self-sabotage yourself
That's
from
right.
what you want to do. Yeah. Some people, and another question now for you is, I get this a lot. Some people think that other people are luckier. Now,
Uh,
what are your thoughts there?
um, they say that you make your own luck. I think it's an interesting one. If I think about that to myself, I could certainly think, well, some people are a lot luckier at making more money than I do. But in terms of people being luckier, in terms of feeling happier and happy in themselves, which is really all we really want, isn't it? Is to feel happy in ourselves and to feel good about our own life. I don't know anybody else who's luckier than me, because I focus on being happy every minute of the day. And if I don't feel good, I will put a smile on my face and my brain goes, oh, she's happy. Let's give her some good hormones. And then I feel better.
You make your own luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with you. If you are an entrepreneur, you have this idea, you finding all the reasons why you're not going to be successful, or you could find all the reasons why you will be successful. And you look at your inner self, ask yourself the question of, who do I want to be in 5 years from today? And what do I have to do, not what he is doing or she is doing. Yeah.
And one thing I do, I'm probably a lot older than most of the people you've got listening. I imagine myself in 15 years' time, and who do I want to be? Not what do I want to have, or even how successful I am. Who do I want to be? What state do I want to be in myself? And then I make sure I'm in that place now.
Wow. Profound. Profound.
Because if we can imagine it, then we can live it.
And we can.
Actually, that's a really good point. I hadn't say that, but our brain does not know the difference between what we imagine and what is real. It's all exactly the same to our brain.
It's a matrix. It's a matrix. You can either create the rule or you can break right through that rule. Yeah, it's that movie Matrix is so real in so many ways. But yeah, I think that's all the questions that's come up for me. And when I put myself in maybe my community space and what they might be thinking, and that like yeah, I would say like advice is like you said, there's no one else that is you. You are you, and your unique contribution in this world depends on you, your responsibility to make that happen. I think that's my final words. So, on my side, I'm going to say bye to the community, and I will then leave it over to Deborah to close out the with her final words. And then we'll close out, and I'll see you on the next one, community. So, over to Deborah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for inviting me, Tulsi. It's been an absolute delight. I absolutely loved creating that presentation. It was a new one for me. And, see, this is it. People say to you, would you do this? And you think, oh, I've never done that before, but yeah, why not? And then you're like, whoa, I just created something completely new that I absolutely love. And I never would have done it if nobody had asked me. and, and I think my final word is that we're all here for a reason. Each one of us has a gift, a special gift. And not even, it may be your gift is your beautiful smile. We all have a gift. We all have something special to contribute to the world. And I just want to finish with one other little thought. You think about it, up until not even 50, 100 years ago, people lived in very small communities. And every single person in that community would have a special skill that they offered to the whole community. They'd be a shoemaker, or they'd be the bread maker, or they'd be the blacksmith, or whatever. And they would be the only one in that community, and the community would honor their skill. Now we live in a community of 8 billion, and it's impossible to be the best or the only one. So we have to find a different way now of acknowledging our own gifts and our own skills and our own specialness and our own unique reason for why we are here. And it is something I can see quite easily when I look at people's astrology charts. But honestly, we all know. You just have to go back to when you were a small child. What did you love to do as a small child? Now, you may not be playing with mud now, but you may be doing something that's a slightly more sophisticated version of what you did as a small child. And you may have left that way behind. You wouldn't believe how many people's astrology charts I look at and I go, oh, you look like you're an amazing singer. You've got an amazing voice. Oh, yeah, I did do that as a kid. I absolutely loved it. But no, I don't do that anymore. And that is so common. So you have to go back and find what it was that mesmerized you, that you couldn't not do as a child. And that will give you a clue. And just follow your heart. Be that inner child. Be your magical child, because that is your genius. Whatever it is that lights you up is your genius. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you all for being here, and just enjoy the journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Deborah, for my last thanks again for giving value to the community and sharing with us. It's been beautiful session with you. Thank you. Bye for now, guys. See you on the next.